with Vincent Wall, and we're joined now by Theresa Mulvihill, Coordinator of Engenuity. Theresa, your group is at the National Manufacturing and Supply Chain Conference in the RDS in Dublin this week. But before we go any further, tell us what Engenuity is and why it came together and what it does.
Sure, good morning. Engenuity is a Midlands engineering cluster that spans across Westmeath, Longford, Laois and Offaly. And we're a cluster of engineering firms across robotics, automation, fabrication. And the group came together in 2017 at the Manufacturing and Supply Chain Conference, which was then held in City West. So a lady called Tracy Talon coordinated and organised a show on behalf of a group of engineering firms to bring them together on behalf of the local enterprise office in Westmeath. And following on from that, Engenuity was born. The members came to the show, they did business, they networked together. I suppose the relationship started there, and everybody thought it would be a good idea to get together again. And that's exactly how it started off in 2017. And
it represents 30 different types of engineering companies, as you said, across the 4 counties. When you say a cluster, Theresa, does this mean that, you know, they actively help each other out and collaborate, perhaps pitching for joint work, sharing labour and expertise if needs be?
Sure, it is an element of that. We have our member companies across the various different, I suppose, areas would look at collaborating collectively. Now that has taken some time. You don't collaborate with your competitor without getting to know them. But yeah, they certainly would look at joint work, and that certainly has happened with our member companies. So maybe for some larger jobs, but also in terms of introductions and supporting each other. But I guess Engenuity is much more than the economic business development agenda. So the guys would also look at innovation projects. We have a number of subgroups, and our companies would work with the IMR. And as part of that, they would look at developing their own projects, maybe collectively together also in terms of innovation and progression around digitisation and so on.
Now, one of the key initiatives that I wanted to talk to you about briefly this morning is that the group came together to source a key and a scarce source of skill, welding skill. Tell us what happened.
Sure. So again, Engenuity have a number of different stakeholders involved. One of those I've already mentioned is the IMR.
That's the Irish Manufacturing Research.
Correct. We also work very closely with the Regional Skills Forum in the Midlands, and through the ITB. So some of our member companies would have, I suppose, skill shortage is an issue across all of them. However, in particular, our member companies were having great difficulty sourcing welders. So John Costello of the Regional Skills Forum, myself and some member companies got together, and we, I suppose, devised the programme. But what's different about this is for new entrants looking to develop a career in welding and to gain certification, our member companies will provide the work experience for those. So there's great opportunities for somebody who does that training programme to be able to be placed in work afterwards. And it's a very practical programme with a very heavy work practice and placement base and focus in it.
So effectively the member companies of Engenuity came together with the local enterprise organisation and with the Westmeath Education and Training Board to devise a programme to fast track basically new entrants to the welding sector, and then to give them the practical experience in their own firms.
Sure, that's exactly what happened. So the traineeship runs over 30 weeks. It'll have an industry standard certification through the LWETB, the Education Training Board, and I guess the local enterprise office, Westmeath, would be the driving forces behind Engenuity. But in this case, it would have been the Midlands Regional Skills Forum who would have worked very closely with Engenuity and indeed the local enterprise offices, but obviously the member companies. So the member companies were instrumental in coming and saying, look, here's a challenge we have. how can you support us? And then I guess the innovation out of it is that this programme was compiled and put together. So some of the core elements were already there, but what's very different with this is that it's in collaboration with the member companies. So the member companies are obviously actively promoting. They're looking for new entrants. They're looking to maybe train up somebody who's out there considering a career in welding, maybe wanting to change, do something quite different.
Okay, well, it's certainly a model for perhaps other companies around the country in different sectors to get together, to help out where they can, and also to get together to source a training course for scarce labour in conjunction with their local enterprise boards. So it's a very interesting story. And Theresa Mulvihill, coordinator of Engenuity, that's a cluster of engineering firms in those 4 Midlands counties. Thanks for joining us this morning. We're joined now by Rosemary Garth, Communications Director.